just want to talk about this Reform story again. So last night there was a statement from Reform UK saying it's with regret we feel obligated to disclose the party received complaints from 2 female employees about serious bullying in the offices of the Member of Parliament for Great Yarmouth, Rupert Lowe.
To celebrate International Women's Day yesterday, Reform UK Limited suspended one of their 5 MPs, Rupert Lowe.
We have evidence of workplace bullying, the targeting of female staff, evidence of derogatory and discriminatory remarks made about women, including reference to a perceived disability. I'll come back to that in a minute. They say they're to have a duty of care to all staff, whether employed directly or indirectly.
The same party that employees have claimed they were dismissed without being paid.
They also talk about allegations of disturbing pattern of behaviour. Mr. Lowe has on at least 2 occasions made threats of physical violence against our party chairman.
Yeah, Zia Youssef, who seems as trustworthy as a scorpion. Anyway, what a surprise that presenter David Ball is actually a founder of Reform. And Talk TV usually tries so hard to have such a range of diverse views.
Having been there and been responsible for taking the ashes of the Brexit Party and forming it into Reform UK with Richard, particularly with Richard, in my house, to put it together as Reform. Nigel then came on board much later on because he decided that he wanted to come back in. And then Ben, when I was deputy leader, I asked Ben to join as a co-deputy leader. Ben then fell out with Nigel. I'm making this factually correct.
Now listeners, Ball and Guest have to admit that Reform looks like the broken biscuits of politics.
So last night, just before I went to bed, and I go to bed very early, I spoke to Dean, our producer, and I said, look, this is, this is a family, families fall out all the time.
No, it's not.
Now, but it's not, because this morning when I woke up, when I realised they'd actually taken the whip away from Rupert, which means he now sits as an independent MP, so you've removed 1 out of 5 MPs. A, that's a terrible look, but B, what has it taken to get to that? And there is no doubt, look, I also know, and I can say this, and I don't think it's any great secret, that there is Rupert and Nigel have always had an interesting relationship. Both of them are very strong characters, both of them are leaders, and both of them are of a certain age, and they believe that it's their way or the wrong way, and I think that is fair to say as well. And this is not a good look.
No, it really isn't. And everyone talks about optics and everything else. I think the fact you had Lee Anderson gone from Labour to Conservative now to Reform, you've got him in the ranks of Reform. The chap who did jail time for, James McMurdo, who did expend, it's been expunged.
I mean, it was a very long time ago.
It doesn't matter, right? He is one of the MPs. And I think in this political climate, Reform was so refreshing, because it offered a change and it offered hope.
But what is it actually offering? It's, as Lowe himself complained, just a party of protest. If, like me, you've been taking some delight in all of this, here's a worrying thought from guest Claire Muldoon.
Right, and I think people will now look at this, and I think this is why this show is particularly good, David, because you, being a member of Reform, and your ties with the Reform Party, and your viewers, your listeners, are very much of that pale blue Reform membership. And I think for them to come in now and say, with their myriad of messages and voice notes and the calls, to say, look, we're thinking of defecting back to the Tories. If Robert Jenrick gets in as leader of the Conservatives, I'm back.
Click here for Vile Tice makes an idiot of himself while Oakshott tries to smooth Reform cracks.